It's not a game, it's a rich thing.
Hello! I'm obviously going to be talking all about Mackinac today. It is one of my favorite places in the world. My family and I have been going there for almost 20 years now. My dad actually would go when he was a kid, so that's why my family decided to go. My first time there, I was 9 years old. I'm 28 now, so almost 20 years we've been going, and typically we would go every other year, but as time has gone on, we are slowly starting to go every year just because we love it so much. But this ended up being a perfect trip in the middle of a very unideal time to be taking a trip. It's a perfect place to be because it doesn't involve being around people a lot, at least the way that I enjoy it and my family kind of enjoys it. There's a big strip on Mackinac where there's a lot of restaurants and things to do, and there's a bit of a nightlife. Nothing too crazy, but if you want that, it's there. It's not typically what we do anyway. It's a lot of biking and hiking and being away from people, which is perfect. In Michigan, masks are mandated, so anytime we were in a store or were somewhere where we couldn't avoid people, everyone had masks, so I felt very safe the whole time. For those of you who don't know, Mackinac Island is an island that is a part of Michigan. It's located in the Straits of Michigan, so all the way at the top of the mitten, if you will. It's located in Lake Huron. Mackinac Bridge, which is the huge bridge that connects the upper and lower peninsula, kind of splits Lake Michigan and Lake Huron, so Mackinac Island is on the Lake Huron side. Mackinac Island is a small island, a little over 8 miles all the way around, and one of the defining features of the island that I feel like makes it very different and special and unique is that there are no motorized vehicles allowed on the island except for obviously emergency vehicles. That's actually the first time that I had ever seen the ambulance on the island, so I went to full tourist mode, like, it's a car, even though I see cars all the time. But you never see them on the island, which is so nice. You don't really realize how big of a difference it makes kind of being away from cars until you stay on the island. It just like slows things down and makes you feel a little calmer. So because there's no cars on the island, the only way to get around is walking, horseback riding or carriages, and bicycles. So wear comfortable shoes because you will be walking a lot. You will be walking a lot. So my family's from the suburbs of Chicagoland, so we drive up to the top of Michigan to take a ferry to the island. We actually did something different this year from what we normally do. We normally wake up super early, make the long drive, take the ferry over, and that's our first day on the island. This time we decided to drive up the day before we were going to the island to spend a night off of the island so that we can catch a ferry in the morning and our first day on the island kind of be rested and fresh and ready to go and really enjoy it. It's about a 7-hour drive, could be more depending on traffic, whatnot, to get there and then to hop a ferry, and that's your first day on the island and you feel kind of like tired and cramped from sitting in a car for so long. I really liked doing that this time. So if you're able to swing that, like if you're somebody who's coming to the island, traveling, making a long drive, and if you're able to swing an extra night maybe that's off the island so that you can feel fresh for your first full day on the island, I recommend doing that if you're able to. If you're not, like obviously this was our first time doing that in nearly 20 years, but it was really nice and it made that first day more enjoyable. We usually leave to Mackinac from Mackinac City. There's also St. Ignace on the other side that you can leave from, but we always come from Mackinac City. There are 2 different ferry lines that you can choose from. One is Shepler's, the other is Starline. We always go on Shepler's. I honestly don't know why, if there's a specific reason as to why my family has always gone there. I've just always gone with the flow, and it's been so many years I've never thought to really ask. But the pricing is the same between the two. I mean, like, they're 2 competing things doing the same thing right by each other. What are you gonna do? So you can buy your ticket ahead of time or that day, and the tickets are usually good for that day that you're leaving. So you don't have to catch a certain ferry at a certain time, which is nice because that could be very stressful. So you just go and you can catch a ferry anytime that day that you buy the tickets. If you're bringing bikes, you do have to pay to have those brought across as well. I do recommend bringing a bike if you're staying for more than a day. I know some people do day trips, but if you're staying more than a day and you want a good way to get around the island, bring your bike if you're able to. There are plenty of places to rent bikes from, but again, if you're there for an extended amount of time and you want to be able to explore the island at your leisure, or you want an easy way to get from point A to point B at any time of the day, having your own bike is wonderful, because if you're renting a bike, you have to be conscious of when you have to bring it back, things like that. So I always like just having my bike. And if you're bringing your bike, things to remember: a bike lock, if you think you might be doing any riding at night, maybe a light for your bike. I also have a basket on my bike. Not necessary at all, especially if you're not a person that bikes a lot, but I have found it useful if I'm like shopping or getting groceries on the island, having a basket to carry things in. So if you think ahead and you know you're somebody that's going to be carrying things around and you don't like wearing things in a backpack, a basket. And then the other thing to be aware of is if your bike has fenders or not. There are horses all over the island, and horses have to go to the bathroom. So when the streets get wet and you're riding your bike and the wheels are spinning up, the horse's bathroom will be displayed all over your back if you do not have fenders. So invest in that if you think you're going to be going to Mackinac and doing a bit of riding. One of the other recommendations I really wanted to give is staying on the island. I know it can be expensive. There are places that you can find that won't break the bank depending on what you like in a place to stay. And there's just nothing like waking up on Mackinac. It's my personal favorite thing. Mornings on Mackinac, I talk about it all the time. I have my Mackinac morning ritual, which I love. It's just so beautiful. I love the smell of the air in the morning. You can sit out by the water, go get coffee from one of the local coffee shops. There's the Lucky Bean, which I love, and there's also the Watercolor Cafe. Both of those places are great. And then just sit out, enjoy the water, enjoy the scenery, listen to the clip-clop of the horses. It's just, And I can't recommend staying on the island enough if that's something that you're able to do financially or schedule-wise. It really makes the whole experience. And I'm somebody who, I could stay on the island for weeks, I feel like, where other people are like, oh yeah, a day or 2 and I'm good. And I'm like, We usually spend like 3 nights on the island, so a decent amount of time, but I always end up being like, I could have stayed a little longer. So obviously, like I said, there are horses all over the island. You can take carriages, there are carriage taxis, there are carriage tours, there are private carriage tours. You can do horseback riding with or without a guide. I always go with a guide because even though it's a small island, I would manage to get lost for years. That's me. One of the biggest things to do is riding your bike through the island. So there's a road that goes all the way around the island that you can ride, and it is beautiful. There's so many places where you can stop and kind of take in the scenery. There's a stop, it's not quite the middle, but it's kind of a middle point. It's called British Landing. So you can go there, and there's like a little concessions where you can get things, and there's bathrooms there. There's a few other spots around the island that have public restrooms in case you're worried about that. There are places to go to the bathroom, but riding around the island is very fun. This year was a little different because they had a lot of road damage, so there was a portion of their season where the road wasn't completely open because they were fixing it. It's still not completely fixed as of right now in summer of 2020, but they're working on it, and you can still go all the way around. As of the time that I went in late July, we were able to fully ride around, but there were patches that were kind of gravel and not a smooth paved road. So just something to know. One of the fun things that we did on the island this time that I guess is another first for us is geocache hunting. I actually didn't know about this until this past year. I guess my sister, when she had gone to the island with some of her friends, they found a geocache stashed on the island accidentally, and then we kind of got into it from there. The first one that we found, my dad, my sister, and I were biking through the middle of the island, which can be challenging, just fair warning. If you plan on doing biking through the island, there are some challenging hills and climbs to get to the top, so just be ready. Again, fair warning. But we were biking, and we every so often get off our bikes and kind of hike if we find a trail. So we were hiking, and we just saw sticks laid out in just a very human way. Like, it was laid out not by an animal scurrying around, like it was purposely done. And sure enough, we found a geocache box that was stashed there. So that was exciting because we had already gone there with that in mind, but we hadn't been looking for it. So it's always fun when you find one just accidentally, not because you were looking for it. Because if you go on the website, you can find out where they are and go hunt them down. But that first one we found was just a surprise. And then my brother, my sister, and I, we went on a big bike ride with the destination of Fort Holmes, which is the highest point of the island. On our way, we decided to pull up the geocache website and map and find some of the geocache boxes. Open them up, people put things inside or just sign notebooks, and so we would add our name, maybe a picture in there with an Instax camera. So that's very exciting to kind of like build to those memories. And we actually brought our own geocache box. So we made it up, we put in a notebook, we wrote in it, and we hid it while we were there. I'm excited to see if people find it and write in it. So if you're on the island, look out for the Hickey family geocache box. Well, that is all for your little introductory into Mackinac Island and some of the things that I love about it. That is honestly just the tip of the iceberg with things about the island, things to do on the island. I didn't even talk about fudge, which is huge on the island, places to stay, shopping. So there is so much more I can talk about. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm actually going back in October, which is going to be the first time that I've ever gone during their off season and in the fall. So I'm really excited to experience it during a different time. If you have any questions or things you wanted me to explore while I'm there in October that I can show you, I will definitely make another video so that I can give you even more information and even more things to either look forward to or things to look back on. So let me know. Any questions, drop them below. I would be happy to answer them. I think that's it. Thank you.
And cut to a clip. I'm being very careful. This is not cute at all. Cut to a clip. Like squat as you